Saints offense thrives with new offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Bench. T-Bob and Jacob Hester. Now, before we get started, there is a Hurricane Francine hurtling down towards New Orleans, towards the southeast Louisiana region. The Gulf Coast region is hurtling towards me. It's hurtling towards the studios. Here, high, or deep, I should say, deep in the French Quarter. Okay, downtown New Orleans, studio is located, and just so happens Francine is trying to make a pit stop at the studio. So, regardless, doesn't matter. We're still pumping out content. But if you are listening / watching from Louisiana or the Gulf Coast region or Texas or some houseboat in the middle of the Gulf, that'd be real bad. Stay safe. Okay, prepare sandbags, board up the windows, get everything off of the floor, get the Vienna sausages prepared, the candles, the flashlights, the booze, the hooch. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's not lie to each other here. It is indeed a hurricane party. Nothing says hurricane party like booze and Vienna sausage. If you haven't had the barbecue flavor, don't. And more importantly, charge up the batteries, right? Charge up your phone, your laptop, your iPad, because if you are in the middle of a apocalyptic situation with hundreds of miles an hour of gusts ripping at your roof, moving your house like a twister or something, even while all that's happening, you of course want to watch the channel. Okay, so make sure that your devices are charged up to watch the channel. Now, today on this episode, we've done the gloating, right? We've done the victory tour. We've walked around raising our hand high as the dominant force in New Orleans sports media, the only channel that got it right. But that's all in the past, okay? We're going to look forward. Okay, so everything we talk about here today, we're going to be referencing and forecasting for Dallas. All right, Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys are the next opponent. So talking about the Carolina Panthers, talking about all that stuff, it's done. All right, 24-hour rule, as Cam Jordan says. So keep that in mind as we watch the video and what we talk about here today.
From New Orleans football, and wow, what a steamy Sunday it was, Nick. As look, I know you're going to come in here and you're going to try to present, you're going to be very positive, but you're going to try to present a measured optimism. Let's just preface the conversation with this, okay?
Nicholas. Okay, Nicholas is joining us as well. So Nick Underhill from New Orleans football. Okay, so it's the whole gang's here. T-Bob, Jacob Hester, Nick Underhill, and the face of the franchise.
I get it. The Panthers are bad, but still an NFL team. Whatever. Let's just preface it with this. None of what we're going to say is to say that it's going to look awesome against the Cowboys, that they're going to beat the Cowboys or anything like that. Who knows? But in terms of a singular data point, in terms of a first look at what was promised over an offseason, you really mathematically, functionally could not have been better than what you saw on Sunday. And really, it's the whole team. But let's just start with the offense, because if anybody is struggling with ED, like I said, you could go to Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, or...
What? Did I just have some kind of a fever dream? Did y'all hear that? Did I black out or something? And what just happened? I was thinking about, Saints offense, and I was preparing my answer, and all of a sudden I kind of flashed over, and next thing I know, T-Bob is talking about ED and Goody's sexual wellness or health. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen?
You could go to Football and read Nick's film breakdown and see how Klint Kubiak is operating this thing. And I bet you'll feel something, because I definitely did when I read it, Nick. Fantastic work on New Orleans Football this morning.
I appreciate it. Look, before I can get into anything, I need a quick question answered, because I'm not going to be able to focus until I know, because it's been on my mind for about 3 or 4 days.
I do not have ED.
So I was scrolling on Twitter the other day, and I noticed this like professional looking modeled photo, and I was like, who the hell is this? And I clicked on it, and it was Jake. And now I just need to know, did you do like a photo shoot recently? Like what's going on here?
So I had to have new headshots for SiriusXM.
That's more than a headshot, my friend.
I
That's
know,
more
it
than
looks
a headshot.
good.
Let's see
He's
him.
got the
Show.
pearl snaps on.
Where's
You're
the
like,
producer?
yeah, I mean, it's
Pose
a production.
So
Let's
the
see
thing
it.
was, so Nick, at the Super Bowl in Vegas this year, we were supposed to do headshots, but I was doing 8 hours of radio, 4 of which were solo, and they took the pictures, and I looked like hell. Like I was tired. I had a hat on, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna."
The last place you ever want it, let me tell you this right now. The last place you ever want a headshot taken is Vegas. Dry air. You're probably not sleeping very well. A lot of stress. Your eyes are strained from looking at the cards. That is not where you want to have your headshots.
Nick, so I mean, there's
Guess
a
we're not
million
seeing 'em.
things that you could take away here, but give me your single biggest one.
Okay, let's talk about the actual football for a second here. Yeah, like T-Bob said, the singular, like people get lost in the result. Okay, people get real lost in the result, and I'm already seeing this kind of in the comment section. I'm seeing that I don't know what the hell happened to the shirts. Things like, I don't know what happened. The hanger, I can barely even keep it on the traps. All right. You could really get bogged down in the fact that, oh, it's just the Panthers, or oh, it's just this, or it's one game, or let's see if you can do it against the Cowboys. You're missing the point if that is where your stance is. Like, it's not about the results as much as it's about the philosophy. The whole point of the offseason was talking about how different just the pure philosophy is with this offense. We saw it. The results were awesome. But take the results away. All right? Take the score away, take all that stuff away. Just the fact of we were number 1 in pre-snap motion and play action in week 1 and across the NFL, and last year we were dead last. Even if all those passes don't work, even if they're all, whatever, the fact that our philosophy has changed that much is huge, is the big indicator. Because even during the preseason, we were saying like, yeah, theoretically, we think it's going to change. Like I could guess. I was guessing that it was going to change, but I didn't know for sure. I had a good idea of what to expect out of the offense, but that week 1 validated the philosophical shift in the offense. That's what's important. It's not important that we ran for 180 something yards, because you can't say you're always going to run for 180 yards. What is important is the style in which we ran. Like, that's how you have to separate things. That's why it drives me crazy whenever people they flip it. They're so concerned about the results. It's like, well, you're not going to score 47 on Dallas. It's like, that's not even the conversation. The conversation, we're not trying to score 47. We're trying to carry over the philosophy game to game to game to game. We're going to carry that over and be consistent game to game to game to game and have the same goals and have the same strategy. That's how you build an offensive identity. That's how you build a good team. Like some games are going to call for different things. Some games you're going to win in blowouts. Some games you're going to lose. Some games you're going to win low scoring, high scoring, shootout, whatever. But as long as you have the right philosophy and the right identity and all that taken care of, the actual inner game flow is much easier to find than if you're just guessing like we were last year.
I mean, man, I don't even know where to start with it. I mean, it was. I think it's what you said. It was probably the best start that they could have possibly had. And I think no matter what happens here, what happens moving forward, I think you have to be excited about the potential of this offensive system. I mean, every single concern we had was masked, and I get it, Panthers, all that stuff, but it is very hard to beat a team by that score. It's very hard to only give up a sack in a game. It's very hard to hide Trevor Penning for a whole entire game, and they managed to do that. I mean, everything fit together. The run game looked completely different. It looked layered and nuanced, and even when like plays were getting blown up, it used to be you'd watch me and you'd be like, why are they doing this? Why'd they even try to do this? Like, you look at them now and it's just like, okay, that it was just like a little bit of execution, but you kind of look at the theory of it and what could have been possible, and it's there. Like, you used to watch it blowing up plays here, and it's like, what were they even trying to do?
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. Is first drive, 2nd and 1, Taysom Hill. They call like a Taysom Hill dive. In the stands, we were saying, we were like, I don't like that play. Like maybe you take a shot there. Like I don't like it. Seems kind of a wasted play. What, 2 plays later, they take a shot, and so it's obvious that they were setting that up, right? They're trying to draw the defense in, and they may not have been setting up specifically like that play for that play, but they were setting up the idea of like, hey, let's kind of run the ball, not show too much, hope they kind of come up, and then we'll hit them over the top. So that's a good example of what he's talking about, where plays that don't even work that well or look like they're kind of wasted plays. They are nuanced in layers into this bigger identity and this bigger scheme.
And I mean, that's just it's a much more enjoyable product to watch. And I know that's easy to say at 47-10. I mean, obviously it's going to be that, but man, it just looks like it fits. It looks like there's a plan. It looks like there's a cohesive product. It isn't, a coach being brought in, being paired with other guys, everybody trying to make it work and hold on to something. Like, this is clean, fresh, going a direction, and you see the direction now. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, if they can keep their head above water long enough to keep building on, like, I think there's something here now, and I didn't know that there was something here before.
So you are someone who watches all of this film very intensely. You watched all of Pete Carmichael last year.
God bless you.
The screenshot that you start the piece with, we just went over it last segment, but just having Kamara out wide, Olave on the other side, you got Shaheed in the pistol, you got Taysom next to him, you got Juwan.
Yeah, this is the Juwan Johnson touchdown. So we covered this on one of my videos this week. It's I mean, the play is, it's Olave on one side, Kamara's out wide, Shaheed is playing the running back position, Taysom is in at fullback next to him, then Juwan motions, and it ends up obviously being the touchdown to Juwan that puts him up, I think it was 30-7 or whatever at the time. But to go from that, or to have that, and last year we ran 0 plays with 2 running backs on the field at the same time, to go from we're not even putting 2 backs on the field at the same time to having Shaheed as the back, Taysom on the field, Kamara out wide, something we never saw Pete Carmichael do. Everything Kamara did was like just check downs, just dumps into the flat. And now, not only is he out wide, but like it is so different, and it's so evolved, and it's so innovative and creative, which again we said all offseason. Pete Carmichael was cosplaying Sean Payton's offense. Sean Payton's offense was cool, but Sean Payton's offense has been the same for 15 years. This is the new Sean Payton offense. Like when Sean Payton's offense took the NFL by storm, this is the new version of that. And I would say this too, a lot of people poo-poo Mickey Loomis, right? Well, Mickey Loomis found Sean Payton at the right time and went with that offense. You got to give Mickey Loomis credit here that only a couple years after Sean Payton, he makes the decision, you know what? We're looking outside. We're looking outside the building. Get Pete Carmichael the holy hell out of here. Ronald Curry, egg in the shoe, pal. Beat it. And he decides this is what we need. This is the offense we need. Remember some of the losers that we interviewed before Klint Kubiak? Remember some of the scrubs? Who's that guy? Luke Getsy? Luke Getsy was one of them. I mean, there were some bums that were interviewed. And good on Loomis for recognizing and saying, you know what? We need this new, innovative, creative style. And, a lot of people say Loomis lucked into Peyton and Breeze and lucked into a couple draft classes. And we're getting to the point now where it's hard to say he lucked into Kubiak as well.
On Johnson, ready to motion and just upset everything. It's indicative of just how creative Kubiak was and will, continue to be. But through one game of Kubiak and all of that Carmichael that you watched, what are the main elements that what are the main differences that you think are able to mask weaknesses and lead to so much success?
Absolutely pre-snap motion, absolutely play action are the two biggest differences right off the bat. Obviously, this zone run game, obviously that is masking a lot of problems with the offensive line, but just to make it an easy answer, it has to be the motion and just the pre-snap activity?
Well, I mean, number one, they weren't in a lot of terrible third down situations, so I think that's a huge thing. I think there was only like 5 actual drop back passes in this game where Penning didn't have help. Like, so you're able to just really hide everything. And then the other thing, I mean, man, the most diabolical thing he did in this game is he ran the ball and he got a 17-yard gain on third down and a 3rd and long. I think it was 3rd and 7.
3rd and 7
on the play.
3rd and 7 is what it was. Yeah.
And then after, I mean,
That's another good example. So that play right there, if you go back, I guarantee you is the situation because I remember what he's talking about. He runs it on 3rd and 7 because he's going for it on 4th down. And that's something we never saw last year. We never saw that like 2-3 play ahead thinking. The only reason you run it there on 3rd and 7 is trying to set up your like 4th and 4. You're trying to set up like a 4th and 3, but you know you're going for it. It's two downs, 100%. And when he ran it, it was refreshing to see because it was like, whoa, damn. He gets it. He understands it. Whether it's Kubiak or somebody else making that, the situational decisions, I can tell you who it's not. It's not Dennis Allen. And we talked about that too, where offloading a lot of that decision making to whoever it is doing it. It might be Kubiak, might be Janoko. I don't know for sure, so I can't give credit. But offloading that and being like, all right, situationally, we're in 4-down territory. So 3rd and 7, let's treat it a little differently. Let's treat it like 2nd and 7. Here we go. And then, you get the 1st down or whatever. But it just shows that forward thinking and that like analytical mind that we just didn't have before.
I mean, and you go back and you look at the play, and there's Clowney just marooned because he's going after the quarterback. He doesn't believe they're actually going to run the ball there. And now coming off of that, the rest of the game, every single time you play action on 3rd down, it has to be believable. Yeah. But it's not just the Panthers. Now it has to be believable to Dallas next week. Yep. Hey, they might run on 3rd down. You need to kind of be under control here. So if you take away the ability to kind of just go after the quarterback, and you can do that effectively, even better. But I mean, I thought that took so much pressure off the offensive line. And it wasn't just one time they did that. Like, they were willing to run on 3rd down. And I think you're willing to punt there just for the greater good of protecting your offensive linemen. And it's stuff like that. It's the details. But I mean, the motion, the play action, it's just all the stuff that they weren't doing. I went and I looked at that pistol over the last 2 years. Every single time they ran it, like it was 90% out of their pistol looks, they were running the ball. Like, these tells that they had, like, they aren't there anymore. There aren't tells for the personnel. Like, Cedric Wilson being out there, that didn't necessarily tip your hand one way or another. Now, maybe over like a longer sample of games, it does a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that. But
like Nick's talking about with those tells, like we said it all last year. Whenever you saw Taysom lined up in his quarterback power formation, and last year it was Taysom and Adam Prentice in the backfield. What do you think they're going to do? Like, it's obvious what's happening. It's a Taysom RPO with Adam Prentice. Obviously, Adam Prentice is just lead blocking for Taysom. Like it was just. I remember in the Tampa Bay game. Tampa Bay, they had I think it was Tampa Bay because it was the game after Carr got hurt. They were running the RPO with Carr. It was like Carr was in the backfield with Taysom. Taysom RPOs to Carr, or maybe it was like a jet sweep or something. But it was a fake handoff to Derek Carr, who was coming off a shoulder injury. It's like, what do you? I have a sneaky feeling what's happening on this play. All right, and he talked about Trevor Penning. Again, guys, that's how you do it. I know all offseason I kept seeing the offensive line. It's like, there's ways to scheme around this. You look at Miami, you look at San Francisco, they're not exactly the best offensive lines. San Francisco, I think, graded 21st last year. You can scheme around it. It is not just, and that's how we're going to talk about Dallas. It is not, if you are already in the comment section and you're typing Micah Parsons versus Trevor Penning, that's not the case. Like, they may be lined up on the same side. It might look like that, but I guarantee you, Klint Kubiak in this offense, part of their game plan is not, okay, well, I hope Trevor Penning can contain Micah Parsons. Like, that's obviously not going to happen. They're obviously not going to say, hey, Talise Fuaga, bad news, my boy. We want you one-on-one just blocking Micah Parsons. If you win, cool. If not, we probably lose. Like that's not happening. That doesn't happen in this new style of football. They are going to try their hardest to scheme Micah Parsons out of the play. They're going to try their hardest to neutralize Micah Parsons with the scheme and the system. Doesn't always work. Sometimes you can't neutralize the guy for the entire game. it still happens, but it certainly will not be what it would have been, which is we're going to have our tackle try and survive against Micah Parsons.
It's just put together. It's planned. It's thought out. Alvin Kamara has space now. It's not just running into to a defensive tackle. Like it's everything. The biggest difference in I'm reluctant to put it like this because I'm not trying to crap on Pete Carmichael here, but
I will. If you don't want to, Nicholas, I understand. Better man than me, but I certainly will.
Like
Stinky
the biggest
Pete.
difference is like it makes sense. There's common sense elements here. Like we would come on here every Tuesday the last 2 years, and I don't know why they don't do this.
Yeah.
Gee, guys, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it should be this hard. Maybe I'm oversimplifying, but ... Like, no, it really was. Like these things we've been talking about for years, like they really were common sense things that they could have just been doing. Like
How crazy is that? How insane is that? That Nick Underhill, like, and Nick, me, T-Bob, and Jake are a little different. Okay, T-Bob and Jake played. Jake played in the NFL. T-Bob played at LSU. Dad was a pro. As far as I know, Nick didn't play college football or pro football, and I didn't play college football or pro football. Multiple 3-on-3 intramural championships at Southern Miss. Not important, but it's crazy. Me and Nick are sitting here every single week, and you can go back on my channel, and you can absolutely go back on New Orleans Football and see it for yourself. Every single week, we are telling Pete Carmichael how to do his job. He was an offensive coordinator for 20 years. He was really, what the hell was he doing? What the hell was that guy doing? He was an OC behind Sean Payton and with Drew Brees as a quarterback. He was front row, right-hand man for one of the best, if not the best offense for 2 decades. And me and Nick are sitting here every single week saying, hey, Pete, you might want to do this, my boy. You might want to do this. I'm half a fifth a crown deep in the stands. And I'm tweeting like, I don't know, probably would go for it here. I don't know, probably wouldn't have ran that. I don't know, let's try and do this, and this. It really is mind-blowing. I know it's a 1-game sample size, but it really is mind-blowing. Like, what really was Pete Carmichael doing every day?
Can just line Taysom Hill up as a running back and hand him the ball, and guess what? Giving him a 5-yard head start to get up to full speed before he's plowing into somebody. Like, that works. Like, you can do that, and those are the things they're doing now. So I think those are the biggest differences.
Even down to the first touchdown, Nick, you point out, it's a simple pre-snap shift by Rashid Shaheed that lets the Saints know that, they're actually in a single high shell and the other safety drops down. So, like, if you get a false step, then you're going to be money on Shaheed, and Carr works through his progressions and pressure in his face.
Yeah, Carr got drilled on that. I talked about this before this week, but I heard a really respected guy who the day after the game, he came out and said, it shows you what Derek Carr can do if he's in the pocket and they keep him clean. To me, that's an obvious tell that he didn't watch the game, because on all 3 of Derek Carr's touchdown passes, the first one, he's getting drilled. He's actively getting hit. And the other 2, he's nowhere near the pocket. The other 2, he's rolling out to the right. One of them, he's basically standing on the sidelines, waving Foster Moreau to the middle of the field. So, the narrative, that's another very lazy narrative, is like, keep the quarterback upright. But it's kind of one and the same with the offensive line thing, where keep the quarterback upright, he's going to be good. Pressure, he's going to be bad. Offensive line wins games. Stuff like that. Like, it isn't always like that. Like the Jets 49ers game. There was a lot of throws Brock Purdy made that he's getting hit. He's getting pressure. It's not just him sitting back there, clean pocket, and he's just dotting it. There's a lot of it where he's throwing to a wide open guy, but he's getting hit doing it. And Derek Carr needs a lot of credit for not just the throws and the stat line, but his ability to run around. Derek Carr was moving all over the place, rolling out, making the throws I just talked about, but also running around. Like some of his actual running plays. I mean, Derek, it was just one of those games where you look at that and you're like, man, I mean, this guy, if he carries this over, I mean, this guy is playing out of his mind.
On third down, with all the narrative hanging in the balance, pressure in his face, delivers the touchdown that got the snowball started.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got to see him handle pressure a lot. You know, mini games before we say, hey,
I mean, that's one throw for sure.
He's gotten better at this. But I do wonder if there's an element of simple read. Okay, I can see where the safety's going, the pressure's coming. I can let it go, and I know I got a one-on-one down there. Maybe you have a little bit more confidence to stand in there a little bit longer if it's that simplified. And that's kind of the idea of this whole offense, is to take a lot of that stuff off the quarterback's plate so we can just go out there and kind of play. It puts a lot more pressure on Kubiak and them to make sure they're getting Carr and the players in the right situations. But if you're doing it in week one, everything's there and it works out as it is, like, I think it's easier for the quarterback to buy into that even more going forward. Not that there's an issue with buy-in, but I think you keep having that confidence. Maybe it gives him a little bit more confidence in the pocket, and maybe that becomes a difference maker. I just don't want to get too far down the line, because I remember coming on here after 38-3 against the Packers and thinking Jameis, like, hey, oh my God, Sean Payton resurrected him. I mean, you know, I'm going to pause a little bit, but
that team was still
excited
good, though.
and extremely
that team was
encouraged.
still good. That team was still good until.
Good point from T-Bob, because that team still goes 9-8, right? And this is what I've been saying the whole time. This game doesn't mean the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl. This game doesn't mean they're going to be a 14-win, 13-win team. The big pushback that we've had all offseason is this idea that the Saints are one of the worst teams in the NFL, or that the Saints are a 3-win team, 4-win team, 5-win team, 6-win team. That's been the pushback. If this all leads to the Saints winning 9 games, or if this all leads to the Saints winning 10 games, I will sit here and I will say, I told you so. Because that's what this team can do. And if they win 9, 10 games, guess what they're doing? Competing for a division, possibly winning the division. But the notion that this team was boring, one of the worst teams in the NFL, lowest scoring team, we heard all of that. We heard all of that as recent as like 2 days before the Panthers game, where people are picking the Panthers over the Saints. Think about how insane that is now looking back. Picking the Panthers to win on the road against the Saints. A Saints team who won 9 games last year and seemingly got better everywhere. You know, so again, like, don't take this and take the results and look ahead to, oh man, we can win the Super Bowl. The goal is to still win the division. None of that changes. None of that changes. 10 wins, 11 wins on the table for sure. But you know, that was always what I was opposite of. I was always opposite of this idea that they're a top 5 draft pick, like potential top 5 draft pick. It's crazy.
Well, we talked about that, but that team was still good until James got hurt. It wasn't the dominant offense that we thought, but they were still good for a bit.
Yeah, I mean the most robust 5 touchdown per. What do you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, but that's a Fugazi stat line, anyways. I'm pretty sure he threw for like 150 yards that game with like 5 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure that's how that played out.
He had like 180 yards and 5 touchdowns. Yeah. Like that was the most full 180 yard performance of all time.
Hey, I want to ask you about the tight end position. I thought they actually did a really nice job of kind of changing it up. And you had Juwan Johnson played 23 snaps. Foster played 51. Taysom played 21. I thought they did a nice job of putting them in a better position to succeed. Last year, it really felt like you misused that position just from me watching film. How did you feel about where they were kind of playing the tight ends? Knowing Juwan missed the bulk of training camp as well, I thought he looked really good.
He did. Look, I'm super excited about Foster too. I think
Foster had a good game for sure. Foster had a good game. I thought they did a really good job of rotating guys around. And that's kind of part of it too, where this system and this scheme, it can make stars out of players who seemingly are unimpactful.
What you saw week 1 is I think probably what a lot of us were envisioning when he came here, just the chemistry with Carr, the ability to kind of be like on the same page, see the field the same way. Obviously, they get the touchdown kind of on the playground play where they're, you know, both signaling to each other where to go, and then Carr puts the ball there. Foster had a great camp. I mean, he was, you know, if we did like a MVP list, like he would have been in my top 5. And I thought he just showed up every single day, made a lot of plays. Obviously, I mean, there's a limit to what that's going to look like on the field, but he was getting open all the time. He looked way more comfortable. He looks healthy. I mean, he had a foot ankle thing last year along with cancer. I mean, he was going through a lot. I think what we saw last year obviously was not the peak of what he's capable of. In camp, we started to see it. And then just like outside of the play, his leadership in these practices, like, you know, I don't know that you would expect it from, you know, a Jesuit guy or whatever, but like he is like the kind of the attitude of the offense. Like he would be out there jawing at people the whole entire time, holding everybody accountable. And I think that was important for that side of the ball, because like it's a lot of young guys and somebody had to step up into that void. He recognized it and did it, and you would just hear him going every single day. And there's a lot of trash talkers on the defense. The offense kind of has, you know, quieter personalities, and he was out there kind of battling with them every single day. And I thought that brought in some needed edge in intensity of the practices. So that was good to see. And then for him to go out here and follow it up in week 1 with some big plays was huge. I thought Juwan looked good. I think as time goes on too, like he missed a lot of time. I think as time goes on, like he's going to continue to grow and get.
I thought he did more well in the run game as well, which isn't always his calling card, as we know.
I agree. I thought he might have. I mean, he had some key blocks. I thought he.
There was a lot of guys that did that. Like Chris Olave had a key block on the Jamal Williams touchdown run, and you know, but that's something else that this offense wants. It wants, like you always hear about San Francisco, they want their receivers to be able to block downfield. And seeing Olave seal that block off for the touchdown run, and seeing some of these guys buying into that is so important.
He was really good there. One of the more interesting things too, like I thought Olave obviously has a lot of room to go as a run blocker.
Yeah.
He actually missed one that caused a collision, and 3 Panthers got taken out, and it gave Alvin the edge. So missing the block was the best thing. But 2 catches, 11 yards.
That type of day.
If you go through and log who ran the furthest in the game, like literally like who logged the most yards running in the game, Olave led the team in that category despite only having 2 catches. So like,
I'll let Nick finish.
Yeah.
I think he's really bought in, and he's doing the dirty work. Ball's not coming his way. He still was working harder than anyone out there. So I'll
give you another tell who's not watching the damn game. Another red flag tell, absolutely telling on yourself, is anybody who is saying that Chris Olave was not impactful. We talked about that this week as well. Showed the block that I was just talking about. Guys, get your ass off ESPN.com stats page. There is more to football than receptions and targets and yards. Okay? 2 receptions on 2 targets for however many yards Olave had. You watch that all 22, you can tell. Like Nick said, he ran the most out of anybody on the field. I just talked about a couple of key blocks, one that led to a touchdown. There's so many more layers to this. And Chris Olave last year, what were the people? What was the complaint about Olave? You know, he's taking plays off. He's not running routes. He's not doing this. He's not bought in. Is he a locker room? You know, is he toxic? Whatever else. Pfft, throw all that in the trash. You do not block like that up 30 at home with 10 minutes left in the game if you aren't bought in. You don't run like that without the ball. You don't run like that without the ball. There's a lot of receivers who'd have been pouting. There's a lot of players who'd have been pouting in that situation. Okay? Go look at Colorado. What was going on in that game at the end of the game? Players were walking off the field. Players were heading to the locker room. Not a good look. Go look at the Browns. What was going on in that game? Infighting, a lot of screaming at each other, whatever. The Saints, now it's easier to do when you're winning. The 2 examples I just gave, they were losing, but still. You know, Chris Olave, you could definitely understand where first game of the year, he's the number 1 wide receiver. He's not getting the ball thrown to him. You could absolutely see, you know, a player in the NFL in that situation freaking out even though they're winning. All right, so he needs to get some praise too. And guys, please do not just look at receptions and yards.
I thought that was a really good sign too.
Wow.
All right, so what do we take? And we're going to cover, obviously, the Dallas game. We're going to do a full-on coverage back into this week. But like I talked about, the offensive line, how Kubiak schemes around Micah Parsons is the number one thing. Number one thing is what he can do. Obviously, we're going to want to run the football. This offense is predicated on us running the football. So if we can run, have success early, you know, stay ahead of the sticks, that'll be good. Defensively, I think we match up pretty well with Dallas if Marshawn is healthy. I know Marshawn had a hamstring injury. He said he's fine. I believe him. But the fact that Dallas is they're so reliant on CeeDee Lamb, and if Marshawn can have one of his performances that, because Marshawn does tend to raise his game whenever he's playing the best wide receivers in the NFL. If Marshawn can raise his game, and if he has one of those games where he shuts out CeeDee Lamb, it's hard to imagine Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle are going to, carry the torch. So we kind of do match up pretty well with Dallas. Now, there is some concern about our run defense. We've seen in the past our run defense be a bit problematic, but Chase Young was nasty against the Panthers. I think he had 7 quarterback hurries. So, Dallas has kind of a new look offensive line, and if we can get to Dak Prescott and limit CeeDee Lamb, defensively we do match up pretty well with Dallas. I mean, offensively, we'll see. I mean, this is, Klint Kubiak, I have no reason but to have faith in him after this Panthers game. But now it's time to show just how creative you are. Now it's time to show, because this is one hell of a defense. Ask Cleveland. Dallas is one hell of a defense. So, now granted, Carolina, according to Kurt Benkert and Colin Cowherd, it's a top 5 defense. But Dallas is a real deal. Real deal. You're on the road, on the fast track. But I think we match up pretty well with them. We match up way better with Dallas than we do against Philly, I'll tell you that. I have way more faith in us to go and beat Dallas than I would for us to beat Philly, even though Philly is at home. So we'll see. Again, we'll cover the game a lot, but that was some key takeaways from the Panthers game that translate to the Cowboys game. So thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Get on down in the comments below. I got to go find those Jacob Hester headshots. Peace.